Ever feel like you blink and suddenly AI has leaped like 5 steps ahead?
Oh, absolutely.
It's a whirlwind out there, and trying to figure out what truly matters, for your
Mhm.
work or just understanding the tech landscape, it can feel like a full-time job.
It really can. The pace is just relentless.
That's where we come in. Welcome to the deep dive. We sift through that constant barrage of AI news, research developments, all that stuff
Yeah.
to bring you the core insights.
Yeah, the stuff you absolutely need to know, but without all the overwhelming noise.
Exactly.
So today we've got 4 key areas we're going to explore. Think of it as a rapid scan of some really significant recent AI movements.
Okay, what have we got?
We'll be looking at OpenAI integrating their Codex model right into ChatGPT for coding. Then there's a rather public stumble involving a legal citation generated by Anthropic's Claude.
Ooh, that sounds interesting.
And some eye-opening research on how even advanced language models can kind of falter in longer conversations. Get lost, basically.
Right.
And finally, a fascinating new company called Cognichip. They're aiming to use AI to fundamentally redesign computer chips.
Wow. Okay. So pretty diverse set of topics.
I feel like.
All right. So our goal today is pretty straightforward. Let's pull out the essential info from these stories, understand why they're significant. Whether you're, say, a software engineer looking at new tools, or maybe someone in the legal field grappling with AI's impact.
Or even if you're just trying to make sense of where AI is heading generally.
Exactly. We're cutting through the hype, getting to the core.
Yeah.
Okay, let's dive in.
Let's start with OpenAI and their integration of Codex into ChatGPT. Now, Codex, as some folks know, is their model specifically for understanding and generating code.
Right. It's been around a bit.
It has, but now it's directly accessible right inside the ChatGPT interface. So it basically puts an AI coding assistant right at your fingertips, within a platform lots of people already use daily.
Yeah, that integration feels like the key thing here, making it much more accessible. And it's powered by Codex 1, you said, which is supposed to be an optimized version of their O3 reasoning model.
That's right, optimized specifically for software engineering nuances.
So what makes this more than just like a fancy autocomplete? What can it do?
Well, the key is its ability to go beyond just simple suggestions. OpenAI is really highlighting its capacity to produce, cleaner, more robust code.
Okay.
And to follow instructions more precisely. It can even execute tests on the code it generates until those tests actually pass.
Huh. So imagine like a coding partner who can tackle some of those routine tasks and check its own work, basically.
Kind of, yeah. A virtual pair programmer, like you said.
Yeah.
And it sounds pretty integrated into the workflow.
Running in its own secure cloud environment, connecting to GitHub repos. The details suggest it can handle things like drafting simple features, finding and fixing bugs, answering questions about your code base, even running tests, and all pretty quickly, like minutes to maybe half an hour.
That's the potential they're outlining, yeah. And it's not just one task at a time. It can apparently handle multiple coding requests simultaneously.
While still letting you use your own computer and browser.
Right. The rollout is also strategic. They're starting with their paid subscribers, Pro, Enterprise, and Team.
Makes sense.
And then planning to extend access to Plus and education users later on. They're calling it generous access initially, but it's pretty clear rate limits are coming with options to buy more credits.
Which you'd expect, right, as they figure out the economics. It's just fascinating how fast AI is getting embedded in coding. They even mention the CDOs of Google and Microsoft claiming something like 30% of their code is now AI-assisted.
Yeah, that figure really jumps out. It underscores the momentum.
For sure.
And it also points to the competition, Anthropic has Claude Code, Google has Gemini Code Assist, and those are also getting more agentic.
Meaning they can act more autonomously.
Exactly. Plus, you've got dedicated platforms like Cursor seeing huge growth in investment. And OpenAI grabbing Windsor for, $3 billion? That signals serious commitment to this coding space.
Okay, so for someone with access, how does it actually work inside ChatGPT? Is it like a sidebar thing?
Yeah, sounds like it's integrated right there. You prompt it with a coding task, hit a specific code button, or use an ask button for questions about your code, and you can apparently track its progress too.
Interesting.
And OpenAI's long-term vision, according to their research lead, is for these agents to become truly autonomous virtual teammates.
Teammates.
Yeah, capable of independently handling those really time-consuming, maybe tedious coding tasks that bog down human engineers. They even said they're using Codex internally already to speed things up.
It paints a pretty compelling picture for the future of software development, but
Right.
what about the risks, the limitations? AI isn't perfect, we know that.
Very true. And safety is a big concern. OpenAI says Codex is designed to refuse malicious code requests.
Okay, good.
And it runs in a sandboxed or air-gapped environment. That restricts its external access, which is good for security, but might also limit what it can do sometimes, interacting with external stuff.
Right, trade-offs.
Plus, there was that Microsoft study showing even advanced AI models can struggle with debugging. So while the potential is huge and investors are excited, you got to keep a realistic view. Errors can happen.
Absolutely. It's a powerful assistant, maybe, but human oversight, human expertise, still critical for now, anyway.
Definitely.
They also mentioned updating the command line version, the Codex CLI, with a new model and API pricing. So it's not just the ChatGPT thing.
Correct. It's a broader push. And this ChatGPT integration seems like a key part of their strategy to boost subscription value. Bundle Codex with Sora for video, deep research, Operator for browsing, more reasons to subscribe.
Makes sense. Okay, let's shift gears. Let's talk about that story that's kind of a cautionary tale. The Anthropic lawyer apologizing for using a hallucinated legal citation from their own AI, Claude. That's awkward.
It is, yeah. It certainly got people talking. This happened in their legal fight with music publishers. Claude basically generated a citation with a wrong title, wrong authors. Just incorrect.
And their manual citation check missed it. Yikes.
Apparently so, along with other inaccuracies Claude produced, according to the lawyer.
And Anthropic's response was to call it an honest citation mistake.
Not a fabrication of authority. That was the phrasing.
Yeah.
Which, might be true about the intent, but it doesn't exactly boost confidence in using AI for high-stakes legal work.
No kidding. Especially given the context, right? Weren't the music publishers already accusing Anthropic's expert witness of using Claude to cite fake articles?
Exactly. Universal Music Group and others made that claim. The judge even ordered Anthropic to respond to those allegations. So this latest citation error just adds fuel to that fire.
And this is all happening against that bigger backdrop, the whole fight between copyright owners and tech companies over AI training data. The stakes are already sky high.
Precisely. And this isn't like a one-off incident. The reporting mentioned other recent cases. A judge in California, a lawyer in Australia, running into problems with faulty AI-generated citations from tools like ChatGPT.
So it really highlights the need for meticulous human verification, especially in law where accuracy is everything.
Absolutely critical.
It feels almost paradoxical. You see huge investment, massive excitement about AI revolutionizing legal work companies like Harvey raising tons of money.
Right.
Yet these fundamental problems with generating incorrect info, hallucinations, they persist. It's a stark reminder that AI is a tool, a potentially powerful one, but not yet a replacement for human judgment and careful checking, especially with legal precedent.
That's a really crucial point. The potential for efficiency is there, sure, but the tech is still evolving. Relying on it blindly, without rigorous human checks, that can have serious consequences, as this Anthropic case shows pretty clearly.
Okay, let's move to our third area. This research about LLMs getting lost in multi-turn conversations. This sounds like something AI developers probably know all too well.
That's right. It's a known challenge, but this paper really dug into it systematically. They looked at how LLM performance degrades as conversations go on, especially when the user's instructions aren't perfectly clear up front and kind of evolve.
So they ran big simulations across a bunch of top models.
Yeah, 15 leading LLMs, GPT 4.1, Gemini 2.5 Pro, Claude 3.7 Sonnet, others across 6 different task types: coding, math, SQL, API calls, data-to-text stuff, document summarization, a real mix.
And what was the big takeaway?
The headline finding was a really significant performance drop, 39% on average in multi-turn settings compared to just a single interaction, even for these cutting-edge models.
39%, wow.
Yeah, they gave an example where models scoring over 90% accuracy on a single turn dropped to around 60% in longer dialogues.
That's a huge drop-off. So it's not just slightly worse quality, it's substantially less accurate as the chat goes on. Did they figure out why?
Yes. Their analysis showed the main culprit is a massive increase in unreliability, like a 112% jump. It's not so much that the models lose their core ability, their aptitude only dropped about 15%, it's that they become way less consistent and predictable.
Ah, okay, so the gap between their best answers and their worst answers gets much wider in longer conversations.
Exactly. They get less reliable. And the paper pointed to a few reasons.
Like what?
Making premature assumptions that turn out wrong, over-relying on previous answers, which might have been flawed themselves.
Right, compounding errors.
Yeah. Generating overly verbose outputs that kind of bury the useful info. And this interesting loss-in-the-middle effect. They seem to pay more attention to the first and last thing said, losing track of stuff in between.
That makes a lot of sense, actually, like they forget the middle of the story.
Pretty much. And importantly, this seems to happen regardless of model size, who made it, or the task type, unless it's a really simple episodic task like translation where context doesn't build much.
And even trying to make the model think harder during testing didn't fix it.
Didn't fully mitigate it, no.
So simple fixes aren't the answer. They tried things like recapping the conversation or reducing randomness.
Yeah, things like recap strategies, snowball strategies, lowering generation randomness.
Mm.
They only helped partially. It really points to needing better context management and memory solutions at a more fundamental level.
So for us users, what's the practical advice?
Try to consolidate your requirements into one clear prompt if you can.
Okay.
And if a conversation starts going off the rails, maybe just start a new chat with a good summary of what you need.
Got it. And for the people building these systems,
The big message is prioritize reliability in multi-turn scenarios. It's crucial, especially as we build more complex AI agents.
it's a really useful insight. These models are amazing, but they have quirks, especially in longer interactions. Good to know the limitations.
Precisely. Acknowledging them is key for setting realistic expectations and guiding future development towards more dependable AI.
Okay, finally, let's switch to something completely different, but potentially huge. Cognichip. Using generative AI to revolutionize chip design. That sounds incredibly ambitious.
It is. I mean, high-performance chips are the bedrock of AI, right?
Mhm.
But designing and making them is incredibly complex, slow, expensive.
Totally.
Cognichip's mission is basically to build artificial chip intelligence, a physics-informed AI model specifically for semiconductor companies. The goal, speed up chip production by 50% and cut costs.
50%. That's a massive claim. Who's behind this?
It's led by Faraj Ali, a real semiconductor industry veteran, and apparently this idea has been brewing for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the reports say he was worried back in 2015 about venture capital drying up for semiconductor companies, partly because chip development just takes so long.
Right. Investors get impatient.
Exactly. He started a VC firm, Canda Ventures, and then more recently with the rise of generative AI, he saw its potential to tackle these deep industry problems. That led to launching Cognichip in 2024.
So they've been in stealth mode building a team.
Seems so. Assembling AI experts. Ali says it'll take several years to reach ultimate performance, but they hope to provide value much sooner. His vision is the AI acting like an expert engineer.
Meaning fewer people doing the same work faster.
That's the idea. Less time, fewer engineers needed for complex design tasks.
And they just came out of stealth with significant funding.
They did. $33 million in seed funding, backed by big names like Lux Capital and Mayfield.
Wow.
Yeah, and one of the investors called Cognichip a potential painkiller for the industry, highlighting how human-dependent chip design still is and how AI could ease talent bottlenecks and speed things up.
Ali also hopes it could democratize chip building, make it easier for smaller companies to design specialized chips.
That's part of the vision, yeah. More companies starting up, getting investment, building niche chips could really shake up the industry.
If they succeed in building this artificial chip intelligence, that's the big if.
Absolutely. It all hinges on that. As Ali himself says, it's a huge undertaking. He framed it as a fundamental change, not just tweaking existing tools. The ambition level is really high.
They're quite a journey today. We've covered a lot. AI coding assistants like Codex becoming potentially real teammates.
But alongside that, a stark reminder from the Anthropic case about AI's fallibility, especially in critical areas like law.
Right. And then the research showing even top LLMs struggle with longer conversations, losing coherence.
Yeah, that reliability issue.
And finally, Cognichip's moonshot goal of using AI to redesign the very hardware that powers AI.
It really shows the dynamism of the field, doesn't it? Huge progress, but also significant challenges across the board. Staying informed about both sides, the breakthroughs and the hurdles, is just essential now.
Which brings us to our final thought for you today. Considering these rapid advancements and the inherent limitations we've talked about, hallucinations, conversational drift, what fundamental shifts do you see coming? How will we interact with and rely on AI in the near future across all these different parts of our lives and work?
It's that balance, is it, between the immense potential and the very real current limitations.
Definitely something to think about. Until our next deep dive, keep exploring.